Hi, everybody. It's another episode of Getting Around World of Warcraft. I'm your host, Lamel, and today we're going to be talking about Mythic Plus affixes and how they affect your runs. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Okay, this episode is going to be focusing on what's known as affixes and Mythic Plus dungeons. This is basically going to cover everything or cover when they start affecting you from Mythic Plus 2s all the way up to Mythic Plus 10s. This video is geared towards the newer players trying to break into doing Mythic dungeons. Okay? For those of you that don't know what an affix is, it's something that changes week to week. It's a dungeon modifier that makes it that much more difficult to complete. So, starting at Mythic Plus 2, you're going to have to start dealing with this modifier. It's known as Fortified. Now remember, this is going to change from week to week, and it's going to, some of them may be the same, some of them may be different, but you got to understand, you got to keep checking this each week to make sure that you know what's going on so that you can understand your pulls better. Okay, again, at Mythic Plus 2s, you're going to have to deal with Fortified. Boss or non-boss enemies have 20% more health and deal 30% more damage. So, what does this mean? As a tank, you're going to have to make smaller pulls, which can present another problem because of the simple fact that when you're doing pub groups, a lot of people like to whine and complain because they feel you're not doing it their way. The one thing you've got to understand is you as a tank, as long as you're doing safe pulls and not killing the group, they need to do it your way. They put you in charge for a reason. You're the one making the calls. Now everybody's going to have some suggestions on how you should handle different things, and it's up to you if you want to take those suggestions into consideration or not. But with that being said, don't be a jerk about it. Be open, be kind, be polite. The only way you're going to make it through without getting issues. Okay, so Fortified is going to kick in at Mythic Plus 2s and go all the way to Mythic Plus 4s. And when you hit Mythic Plus 4s, there's going to be one stacked on top of it. So not only do you have to deal with Fortified, but now you got to deal with Sanguine. When slain, non-boss enemies leave a pool of blood on the ground. And this will heal enemies and do damage to players. So what that means is now you're in Mythic 4s and you've got to deal with not only Fortified because they're going to be stronger and have more health, or they have more health and they're going to be doing more damage to you. Now you've got to worry about non-boss members dying and leaving a pool of blood. It's going to be about an 8-yard radius on the ground, and it's going to last for 20 seconds. Now, as a tank, you need to be able to pull those mobs out of that pool of blood. And it's not always the best set of circumstances because you're going to have to be dealing with pets and you're going to have to be dealing with other things that are going to try and hold it there to stop you from pulling it out. The rest of your group needs to understand that, hey, you as a tank needs to pull them out of that pool of blood because they get healed and you guys take damage. Okay, so, and that's going to go all the way up to Mythic Plus 7s. Once you start dealing with Mythic Plus 7s, you're going to have all three of these stacked on each other. And that's called Grievous. Injured players suffer increased damage over time until healed. And that is a flat base damage, and the percentage is based on the key level. So now what that means is once you're below 90% health, you are going to start taking damage. The healer needs to be aware of this, and the tank, you need to know how this is going to affect you and what you need to do to make sure that you stay up in this. I run as a paladin, so I've got myself heals that I can make sure, but it's above, once you get above 90% health, it's a debuff that can be taken off of you. So give your healers time to take those debuffs off. Okay, so once you get all the way up to 7 and start dealing with this new affix, then you're going to have to deal with Prideful at plus 10. So at plus 10, you're going to have all of these stacked up onto it. Okay, and plus 10 prideful, sorry, I think I called it prideful, and that's not what I meant. Okay, prideful is going to be added into Mythic plus 10s. And what that means is you're going to go around when you start pulling mobs and you're going to start building up a bar. And at every 20% on this bar, you're going to manifest a manifestation of pride is going to appear. It's going to have about 30% of a dungeon's boss health, and is going to do area of effect damage every 2 seconds. But with that being said, once you mow prideful down, you get bonuses. Your bonuses are, you're going to get a 5% mana regeneration per second. You're going to get a 30% increase in damage that you do, and you're going to get a 60% in movement speed, and that is going to last for a minute. So basically, you want to try and time your pridefuls to the point of, you know, a really hard pull, or, you know, you're at a boss. You want to try to get those timings down then. Some of them like to start. Some of them like to get it started and then pull the boss into it just as you're about ready to drop the prideful. That's fine. Make sure you discuss what's going on with the group that you're in, and understand what you as a class can do and what your group can do in their individual classes. You need to know who can remove debuffs and who can't. You need to know when you should pull and when you shouldn't. Being a tank is a very big responsibility, and I don't think other people understand what it necessarily means to be a tank when you start doing Mythic Plus runs. And for those of you that don't, let me educate you for a minute. When you're a tank, you've got to worry about where things are going, where things are coming from, what you need to do as a pull, who's up, who's down, who can heal you, who can debuff you, where is the threat being pulled from, and everything like that. So there is so much that the tank has to deal with. And if you don't like how they're doing it, if they're not doing anything wrong other than, oh, I'm not used to it being this way, so I'm going to start bitching and complaining, that's not cool. But if they don't seem like they understand what the mechanics are, you've got two choices. A, deal with it, or B, try to explain it to them so they understand. Find out where they're coming from. Maybe they don't know what's going on with a certain mechanic. Maybe they don't realize a certain mechanic is happening at the time. So either A, tolerate it, or B, try to communicate calmly, rationally. I understand when you start talking keys, you start talking time. So it's best to try and figure these things out before you get in there. And it's, for me, and I can't say this is for everybody, but for me, I prefer voice chat, because as you're explaining it to me, I can, if it's in the middle of a fight and you start saying something, I can do it on the fly. Sometimes I'm so focused in on what I'm doing and what I have to take care of around me, I am not going to see world chat. I'm not going to see party chat. And then by the time that happens, it's too late. So a lot of people need to be more patient. And yes, I do understand that there are a lot of tanks out there that really don't know what they're doing. Or some of them are just being jerks out there, and they're trying to deliberately mess up somebody's key. There are people, yes, people out there get off on doing that for fun. But with that being said, not every tank you run into is going to be that kind of person. Not every tank you're going to run into is going to have those kinds of issues. If you don't want to talk with them figure out a way to get your point across without being rude, without being mean. Well, that's all the time we have for today. I hope this helps you out in getting yourself started in Mythic Plus runs. The only way you're going to get through this is if you're doing pub groups, you need to communicate with the other people. And there are a lot of people that don't want to communicate. They're going to tell you, oh, it's up to you how you want to do this. And then turn around and say, oh, hey, you did this wrong. This is not where I wanted you to go. I wanted you to go this way. Well, communicate. Communication with your group is going to be the biggest thing. So either A, find yourself a group that you're going to work with on a regular basis, or B, deal with all the hassles of doing pub groups. And hopefully through experience and time, you're going to get better and you're going to have less and less of these problems. And hopefully this video helps. If you like the content that I've given you, please make sure to hit the like button and let YouTube know so that I can continue creating these videos. Until then, have a safe day and a great week.